Hey, what's good, guys? As you may know, Pokemon Sword and Shield released not that long ago. You know, there's a couple of vlogs out there that may or may not have my face in it. But I kind of just wanted to talk about my overall feelings on the game. I kind of took my sweet time playing through the game. I actually wanted to finish it before making this video because I felt that a game was such a controversial I don't know, story behind it, considering the fan base and national decks and all that stuff going on for, I think, months or so. I just felt like making a first impressions video like I normally would do wouldn't be a good idea or wouldn't do it justice. I kind of wanted to actually, I don't know, kind of fully experience what the game had to offer before I really decided to make a video talking about it. But yeah, I did beat the game. I also did the little post-game story that they have. The only thing I really did not do was the battle tower, and that's primarily because regardless of which Pokemon game we're talking about, whether or not it was the ones that everyone loved or hated, I never liked doing any of the battle tower, battle frontier type things. It just never interested me. The only post-game stuff I ever actually did was typically, like, you know, the story stuff, you know, like Delta episode, Rainbow Rocket, and, like, you know, things of that nature. So, you know, that stuff just never interested me, so I just didn't do it. Now, when I compare Sword and Shield to the games of the past, since, you know, that's something that a lot of people have done, especially when they talk about, you know, how there's only 400 Pokemon in the game, where they, you know, basically cut the national decks in half. Like I said, personally, a lot of these things didn't really apply to me. I think the only thing that really bothered me was the national decks, but in terms of, you know, the graphics, like the tree thing that people mentioned, it never really bothered me. If you guys want to know more detail on how I felt about the controversies behind Sword and Shield, I did make a video about that before the game even released, so check that out if you're interested in getting more backstory, because I really don't want to focus too much on that in this one. But, you know, feel free to watch that video if that's the case. Actually playing the game, most of it didn't matter to me. It's pretty much what I expected. None of the issues that people have brought up really, I don't know, got in the way of my enjoyment. Even the national decks thing, surprisingly, I guess that's not something that would bother you until you decided to, I don't know, trade certain Pokemon into Sword and Shield. But it didn't really, I don't know, get in the way of my experience either when playing the main game. And in terms of the 3D Pokemon games, and when I say 3D, I'm talking about, you know, when it was no longer, you know, pixels and sprites and whatnot. It was 3D models and whatnot, that being, you know, X and Y onward. I think Sword and Shield is probably my favorite. That might be controversial for some people, because there's a lot of people who really wanted this game to just fail for some reason. I don't understand why anyone would want a game to fail, but it is what it is. I don't think Sword and Shield is a bad game. It's definitely not the best, and that's why I wanted to kind of separate the two, because personally I've always felt that starting with X and Y onward, Pokemon has kind of went with a very different way of doing things, and that very different way of doing things is not something that I prefer Pokemon to do, and I don't think is a good way of doing it. I feel that other than maybe Diamond and Pearl, every Pokemon generation before X and Y was great in their own respects. And that's kind of it. I know Diamond and Pearl gets better with Platinum, but I'm not judging Platinum, I'm just judging Diamond and Pearl when I make that comparison. But X and Y and Sun and Moon just have a lot of weird decisions with hand holding and kind of just being very streamlined to the point of kind of just not having much to do other than the main game. I do like certain things that they did, like the Delta episode and Rainbow Rocket, like stuff like that, like post-game like that is stuff that I personally enjoy doing. But, you know, Battle Tower stuff, like I said, I really don't give a shit. And Sword and Shield does have something like that. I don't want to go into it in case you guys are still playing through it, but there is, you know, a little post-game story thing. It's not the best. I think it's weaker than Ultra Sun and Moon had. But then again, I don't know, I just feel like the overall package of Sun and Moon versus Sword and Shield, I felt that Sun and Moon just had a more interesting setting and team. And if you're talking about Ultra Sun and Moon specifically, they had the better post-game content in terms of, I guess, something that interests me. When I look at Sword and Shield overall, in terms of mechanics, in terms of the wild area, in terms of the raids and whatnot, I don't think I've had more fun playing a Pokemon game, at least in the 3D era of Pokemon. as I have with Sword and Shield. Primarily because the other Pokemon games, to give some backstory, I'm not really a competitive player at all. I like co-op experiences more in most of my games. I do have some competitive games. Like, obviously, you guys know I play Super Smash Brothers, even though I'm kind of on a hiatus on that game. That's kind of like my only really, I don't know, competitive game, I guess, or other fighting games to an extent. But Pokemon is not one of those competitive games for me. Like, I've never really cared too much about the competitive scene. At least I haven't for quite some time. Like, I want to say years. So I'm not interested in that, and I think Sword and Shield did a lot to streamline certain things for the competitive scene, which is great, by the way. I do think that's a very big bonus and a big plus for Sword and Shield. However, because it doesn't apply to me, it's not something that really matters that much to me. The whole raid thing being there as a sort of other, I don't know, I guess form of content for me to do that is more on the co-op base and isn't so much into the competitive side of things really speaks to me more than pretty much almost everything Sun and Moon and X and Y did. Because while each of these games in their own respective ways helped streamline the competitive scene, none of them really did anything in the co-op side of things that made me have a lot of fun, at least not as much as Sword and Shield did. I've had multiple nights already where I get a group of maybe, 3 or 4 friends together and we just do raids up until like the latest hours of the night. That's just a lot of fun, and I've never had an experience like that in Pokemon in general. Like including the ones that are, very beloved and whatnot. So it's weird because I don't think Sword and Shield does anything spectacular. But I do really love some of the things they added. In fact, I feel that while the wild area is the place where, they host these raids, there's so much they can do to make the wild area so much better than what it is. It's not that the wild area is bad. I think it's a very good first step. I think I love the general idea and concept of the wild area. I think it's just a cool idea in general. Like, when I actually got to walk around and explore, it's fun. But the problem is that the only real activities is to catch a Pokemon or do a raid. And while I love doing the raids, I don't really enjoy catching Pokemon there too much. Not because it's bad, but because it's not really a fun activity, because typically you catch the Pokemon you want and then you're done. Maybe if you're shiny hunting, I could see there's some more enjoyment there, and shiny hunting is definitely something that takes a lot of time, especially if you're going for several different Pokemon. But if you really boil down what you do in the wild area, you're more or less just catching Pokemon or doing a raid. And that's it. And the wild area doesn't really have much to explore either. There isn't really, I mean, there's some hidden items, I guess, but there's not much to really do. And I just feel that there should be more to do. I don't know, maybe it's just me, or maybe I have a completely different idea of what the wild area should have been. But I like the first step, but I would love to see this be something that kind of sticks around in future generations and kind of, gets slightly improved upon as the years go by. But I really don't want the wild area to be like another, mega evolution scenario where it's literally the only generation that has it and they just never do it again, because I think it's one of the best ideas they've had. They just didn't, go all the way with it. It feels like they kind of, dipped their toes into the idea a bit just to see how people react. And I think there might have been, I believe, an article somewhere, something about like, having the extra camera controls is like some kind of experiment or something. I'm not entirely sure. You more hardcore Pokemon fans can really answer that for me. But I don't like a lot of things about the game, but I also like a lot of things about the game. But I feel that things like the wild area and things like the raids just make me enjoy it so much more than I expected to actually enjoy it. I like the battle themes. I like some of the character designs. I think it has some of the best Pokemon designs since Gen, I don't know what, 5? Gen 4 and 5 had very weak designs, I'm sorry. And I just feel that there's a lot of good things going for it, but again, it's always bogged down by something. Team Yell is probably tied with Team Flare as one of the worst teams just in Pokemon ever. I think it's only like slightly better than Team Flare, maybe, and that's because of their leader just being a little more interesting because he's actually more involved and does things, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of it. But I'm kind of keeping you guys here for a little longer than I wanted to. I just wanted to blabber on about Pokemon for a bit, and hopefully you guys can let me know how you feel about the game. And yeah, that's kind of it. It took me a while to come out with this video because I really just wanted to finish this game because I felt like doing a first impressions video for a game with this much, you know, conversation being made about it, whether people hate it or love it. I just felt like it would make more sense to just finish it and then give an overall thought process, I suppose, about the whole thing. So let me know what you guys feel about it. I think right now, if I had to, I don't know, give a off the top of my head kind of score about how I feel about the game, I think it's better than Sun and Moon. I think it's better than X and Y. In terms of X and Y, it's better in every capacity, including the rival and everything. Sun and Moon, the only thing I liked in Sun and Moon more was the setting and the team, and that's kind of it. But Sword and Shield I like in almost every respect more than those two. And then when you get before Gen 6, that's when it becomes questionable. But that being said, let me know how you guys feel about it. Off the top of my head score, I'm gonna say game is maybe a 7 out of 10, maybe 7.5. You know what? I'll be kind of say maybe 8. You know, but anything higher than that, I feel is just not the case. So yeah, I thought the game was good, but it could be better. Definitely could be better. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. I'm keeping you guys for too long. Let me know how you feel about it, and until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.